Reality. It's an ambiguous concept. It's an individual's perception of environment and situations with their five senses. What that means is how you perceive it is how it is. So when we come to terms with that, we realize we, in fact, create our reality.
We create our own reality. We decide who we are and what we're gonna be. We create our own.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Leveled Up Podcast with me, your host, Mike Adler. As you can already tell, this episode is a little different. We're back in the vehicle. I realized we've done a lot of episodes in the studio, and I just was driving and I wanted to switch it up. So, as I've said from the beginning, it's my podcast. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So, this is what we're doing today. I hope everybody is doing well and off to a good start of their week. As always, if you can take a moment, click the share button, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button while you're over here. Anything we can do to help get these messages out means everything to me. Otherwise, it just goes out into the ether and sits there, and hopefully 10 years from now, someone will stumble upon it once people know who the fuck I am, and they'll like looking back on these old videos. But in the meantime, it'd be nice if some people, saw them now. So today, I want to talk about emotions and dealing with emotions. As you can imagine, part of leveling up in life and as a person, part of that is learning to deal with and control your emotions. And on the other hand of that, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you can tell when a person is not as... You know when someone who loses their temper, starts crying over nothing, like just straight up can't control their emotions. Those people typically have a lot more work to do on themselves. And sorry, the screen's a little shaky today because we're in the vehicle, but bear with me. If you can't control your shit, how can you expect to level up and progress? And it's just it's a quintessential step in learning to control, or in becoming the best version of yourself. Now, when it comes to, part of leveling up is, I imagine people who watch these are people who have an entrepreneurial mindset. Typically, people who want to level up in their lives are people who also are entrepreneurial in spirit and want to build and grow businesses. And part of that is leadership. And you can't... leadership is what? Leading other people. And how are you supposed to lead other people if you can't even control yourself? If you can't control your own emotions? You can't. People won't look at you as someone who is powerful and in control, captain of the ship, if you can't even captain your own ship. So learning this skill, practicing dealing with emotions is essential. And part of being human is having emotions. It's just, unless you're like a psychopath, like actually, or maybe you have some sort of brain injury or something of that nature, you're gonna have emotions. Happy, sad, mad, depressed, all the emotions. But people will often let, especially the bad ones, sadness, depression, anger, they'll have a hard time controlling those and will often let them control them. And you can't let your emotions be in control. That's when you make poor decisions, irrational decisions, and no good really comes out of it. Let's see, I personally, I'm trying to remember how this happened, but I made a decision many years ago that I was not going to be angry. I wasn't going to allow myself to get mad anymore, because I realized that anger and being mad, it is a waste of energy, and we have limited energy, not to mention limited mental capacity and space to think about things. And have it when you're angry and mad, not only is it wasting energy and taking up space in your mind, it's not serving you in any way. So the reason I said I was trying to remember how this happened is because I don't know if this played a part in it, but I was realizing that sometime shortly after my first year of college, that I was like a little more on edge. And I realized that I had played hockey my entire childhood, through high school, through my first year of college. And so I started to think that maybe this anger is because I don't have that same outlet to let go of this aggression that I have. Maybe it was always there, but when I was on the ice, fucking laying people out and breaking bones, ripping slap shots and shit, that was my outlet for letting go of the aggression and anger that I probably had. So it only made sense that I was probably a little more on edge and aggressive. I don't know if that's when I made the conscious decision to stop allowing myself to get mad, but it might have been around that time. So I had to learn to deal with it. And in retrospect, if I were giving advice to someone now, the first thing I would say, as I often do, is that put that aggression into a workout. release it through a workout. You know, because like with the hockey thing, it was strenuous exercise multiple times a week on the ice, and I don't know why I didn't then. And you know, it really baffles me why I never got into working out earlier. Even when I was playing hockey, I wasn't big on working out. I don't know why. It may have just been because, like, you know, I'm sort of lucky genetically where I have a fast metabolism, and I've just always been like lean and had some muscle. So maybe I just, you know, thought I didn't need that. But as I say all the time now, like, obviously working out is a whole lot more than just the physical side of things. So in the example of learning to control anger, well, I would say now start exercising if you're not, or doing strenuous workouts like beating the shit out of a heavy bag. You know, probably like martial arts, like jiu-jitsu would probably help. But this is also around the time that I really started drinking a lot. So it makes me wonder, I'm just thinking out loud here, it makes me wonder if, you know, part of how I coped with dealing with anger, and don't get me wrong, I was not like someone who needed anger management or something, but I'm only human, and I did experience anger, and like I said, it was a little more heightened after I stopped playing hockey. And that's what made me, I think, at that time realize I need to not allow myself to waste all this energy on the anger. So, the first thing that I, you know, made a conscious effort of was just noticing that I'm getting angry, noticing that, you know, when the trigger is pulled or switch is flipped, and consciously, you know, taking a couple deep breaths, being aware that I'm about to get angry, I am angry, and then just focusing on letting it go. And I know that's way easier said than done, but we do have the ability to let shit go. Maybe not completely let go, but we don't have to hang on to it so much so that we are willing to change our behavior or act irrationally because of it. And it all started with the awareness. It's not just like there's a moment between everything's okay and I'm gonna kill someone. And identifying that moment and realizing where this is gonna go if I don't consciously work to let it go is the biggest step, because otherwise you're just, you know, you're not being conscious. You're just allowing the emotion to take hold and take control. So there's that example from my life, but you can imagine how controlling your anger, for example, would be beneficial in your life and in your personal development and self-growth, because of, how that will impact your relationships. And it goes like that for, every emotion. People, I know, as far as as depression goes. So if you ask people would tell you I'm generally a sort of happy-go-lucky person. Sometimes I'm quiet, but overall I'm usually a very positive and happy person. But depression itself is not just being sad. Depression is a deeper sense of, negativity. And that's something that I've also struggled with. I've dealt with suicidal ideations I dealt with that for a long time. I even made an attempt, purposely one time, and also many times through my what they call parasuicidal behaviors, where you do things knowing that those things can and will kill you, whether it's immediately or over time. Partaking in behaviors that you know will kill you. It's called parasuicidal behaviors. And I have done a lot of that. And I'm very grateful to still be here today, because I've been able to get past that depression. Even though it's still something that I need to practice and work on, because it doesn't just go away, but the more that you pull yourself out of it, the more that you learn to cope with it. And it's a practice. It's something you need to practice, as are most things in personal development. These are things that you need to become conscious of, aware of, and then work on. When they talk about doing the work, this is what they mean. And it can be difficult sometimes to even identify when something is happening, like when you're slipping into this, mindset. Say you're going through a depressive state, like a little episode. You may not realize that that's happening until you've been in it for a week. But still, being able to recognize it and then say, okay, what are we going to do with this? And a lot of it is diverting your thoughts elsewhere, making by distracting, by focusing on other things. So when you do, in this instance, get depressed, rather than allowing yourself to The worst thing you can do is focus on the depression. Same thing with anxiety. The more you focus on it, the worse it becomes. This is partially why therapy can be a bad thing, because it forces you to just ruminate on your problems. And in doing so, you're exacerbating the problems. So, doing things like practicing gratitude, while I know this sounds all airy-fairy and, unicorns and rainbows sort of thing, it's a very, very effective tool, because you can be depressed, but if you focus on the simple fact that I was gonna say the fact that you woke up and are breathing, but the problem is when you're depressed, sometimes you wish you didn't wake up. A lot of times you wish you didn't wake up. But if that is the case, focus on things that you do care about. Even when you're depressed, you're still, you wouldn't wish it on other people, or, you still love your dog. So focus on being grateful for things that are outside of you, but are still part of your life. Be grateful for your dog. Be grateful for, your friendships, the things that you do have. And by focusing on that, the things that you're grateful for, you're training your brain to seek those things out, and to just feel the gratitude, feel grateful. And the feeling of gratitude is pretty opposite to depression. So you can imagine how practicing gratitude would help you through those periods. And this is something you should do, I think, every day, regardless of how you feel. Because in doing so, practicing it regularly will help prevent you going into those episodes to begin with, because you'll be living in a state of gratitude more often than not. And again, you can imagine how gaining this control over your emotions will impact your life, your level up, your career, your relationships. But as with everything, it's on you to put in the effort to practice these things so that you can gain control over your emotions. Now, what about happiness? Do I need to control that? I don't know. Do you? I mean, there are, say, people with untreated bipolar disorder who, when they're in a manic state, are elated, are so happy, but they're also unable to see consequences and do things, irrational things, because they feel so fucking good. So, the saying, too much of anything is not good, or something like that. Everything in moderation. So maybe you can be too happy. I don't really know. I'm not going to give you an answer to that, but I do know that much like in one of the last episodes about discipline, that you also need to control your emotions. Discipline and control of emotions is sort of similar because it gives you control of your life. And if you're out of control, your life is not going to be what you want it to be. There's no way you can have the life that you desire if you're not in control of these things. And even like you hear these stories of people who figured out the financial game, got super rich, and now they're crying in their Ferrari because they haven't learned to control their emotions. So there's all these different aspects to leveling up your life. So just because, people often think of leveling up and they think of money. But like I said, there's many people who got the money part figured out, but they still are overweight, out of shape, can't control them, like they're depressed. And to be your optimum self, the best version of yourself, it's being well-rounded in all of these different aspects, being able to do all of these things. That's why it's an ongoing process. Personal development you don't just reach a finish line and you're your best you. It's a constant, ongoing process that will go on till the day you die. Which is again why the gym is such a great example or metaphor, because it's also your fitness journey is also a lifelong journey, which is again another reason why you gotta get in the gym and start getting your fitness, your physical fitness routine in place, because doing it and going through that will help you to understand that the other things that we're talking about are also going to be ongoing practices that don't have a finish line. So you can see how your inability to control your emotions is going to impact your ability to grow and become a better version of yourself. So start with, in my opinion, the awareness aspect. Really learn to become aware of the emotions that you're experiencing. And this can be difficult if you're, drinking and doing drugs and stuff, because your emotions are either masked, heightened, or they're just being messed with constantly. So another way that right there tells you, if you were to kick these vices, it would be beneficial for you, because you would then be able to be more in tune with your emotions. It would be hard to control them if you don't even recognize them, or they're masked, or they're, if you're being lied to about what you're actually feeling because of the substances. So you can see how it's bigger than just one thing, because all these other things, all these other variables affect it as well. So while you are becoming more aware of your emotions, pay attention to how the substances that you use are affecting your emotions as well, and consider getting those out of your life so that you can better focus on these things. And getting in the gym and realizing how that allows you to get out the aggression and anger, and how that helps you to control your emotions. And I think it's pretty clear how your emotions affect your ability to level up. And that is what we are here about. That's what this podcast is all about. Leveling up in your life. So, based off the things that I've said here today, hopefully you are sort of auditing your personal situation, and giving yourself an honest critique of whether or not you have control of your emotions. And if you don't, hopefully you have some ideas of how you can begin to do that, to get control. And hopefully, if you've made it this far, leave a comment. If there's something that I'm missing that you think has helped you, or if you have questions, maybe there's more that I'm not saying that I could expand on in the comments. So leave a comment. And yeah, that's about it for this episode. Don't want it getting too long, so I hope you enjoyed the little change of background today. And as always, if you are interested in working with me one-on-one, I do have my one-on-one coaching program. You can shoot me a DM on The Real Mike Adler, at The Real Mike Adler on Instagram, if you want to discuss more of that, see if it's right for you. You can also email me at therealmikeadler@gmail.com to discuss more and or to sign up. There's a link in the description of this video as well where you can sign up directly. Same goes for my Get Fit Blueprint online course teaching you how to get the physique that you desire. You can sign up directly in the link in my description here, or you can also email me about that, or DM me on Instagram. I appreciate you tuning in, and until next time, control your emotions. We'll see you next time. Peace.
We create our own reality. decide